And, we got through some things. Obviously, I want to go more in depth on what we saw this weekend, right? Because you watch the first half, and you're like, man, this is, not great. You know what I mean? I don't know if they've really done anything, right? And you saw a couple plays made. It was 22-7. LSU's making this run. I think they go down by 8. They end up cutting the lead to 8 points at halftime.
Yeah.
All right? They actually cut it to 5. They held Missouri to a field goal to make it 8. Missouri got the ball after half. Missouri missed a field goal. And you see this, and you're like, okay, what's going to happen? And then LSU outscores Missouri 42-17. From that point, from 22-7 score, they outscored Missouri 42-17. I think you really saw the tide flip toward the second quarter, and then really between the third and the middle of the fourth. And then Missouri ended up scoring a little bit towards the end of the game. But for me, I liked what I saw on the defensive line the most. We talked about it before the game, right? You can't fix the whole defense in 1 week. Pete Jenkins is not going to come in and make everything better on the defensive line in 1 week. I want to see a little bit of improvement. I want to see a little bit more of, okay, we know we're supposed to be. We feel more confident doing this. And I think if the defensive line got better, we thought if the defensive line got better, the secondary and the linebackers would play better because you at least have one facet of your defense playing well, right? And so I think you start to see that. I think you start to see them move quarterback off his spot. I think you started to see them, get a little bit more pressure. They had their first sack in 2 weeks against Missouri. Missouri had a really good offense, but you saw that the defensive line stepped up and made plays. They had a strip sack where they put them at 4th and 35. Then they had a couple plays where the quarterback was off balance and kind of got rushed and threw balls out of bounds or made some errant throws. And to me, and you said it when we were talking with G and Accardo, I think if the defensive line gets better, you see the secondary get better.
Yeah, so, that was pretty much timing-wise of the season last year's Ole Miss game. And it pretty much happened kind of the same way that one happened, where it was getting beat kind of close in the first half, and then second half you saw them absolutely dominate the other team, right? And just – speaking of the first half of yesterday's game, what you didn't want to see was them kind of start slow and get behind and play from behind because of what we've seen the last couple weeks, right? You just weren't sure that the defense would be able to find a way to hold up, right? And they did. So it was cool to kind of see that happen and you go into the second half and play well. And we talked about it last week, and the one thing I said I wanted to see, or that scared me after we had our Missouri writer on that came on, it scared me in a sense of where I was like, well, we know they got the one guy, Luther Burden, right? Luther Burden the third, yeah. We knew for sure he was going to get his. And we knew they would throw well. We knew the quarterback was going to do well in that aspect of the game. But where I was worried was we were like, well, they've run the ball pretty decently too. And if they can do both of these things against us, we're in trouble. They ran for a team for 116 yards, which – is a big improvement.
That is a huge improvement.
And that's
what did we give up last week?
Exactly.
330
exactly.
yards rushing.
So, being that we were able to get that done not only shows me, hey, like you said, man, you can't move a mountain in one day. You're not going to get it all done in one day, right? Progression was what you wanted to see. Progression is what we got. Hopefully you get another step of that again next week. I told you the only one thing that scares me or is my worry that's still on the board moving forward is – if you stack them up position by position with that Ole Miss team, right, is Missouri's offense as explosive and as talented as that team?
Top to bottom, no.
And I don't think it is. So the question is maybe that was masked a little bit. And look, let's be honest, Ole Miss is good offensively.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And I'll argue. I'm not arguing. Let's say I don't argue. I will counter that with top to bottom. I agree. I think Ole Miss is better.
Yeah.
Right. I'll counter that with I don't think Ole Miss's top 2 receivers are as talented as Missouri's top 2 receivers, right? I'll say that right now. But top to bottom, from center, left right tackle, left tackle, receivers, running backs, everything, I think Ole Miss is better, right? Quarterback, I'd probably give the nod to Jackson Dart, even though was it Cook?
Yeah, he surprised me. He's a better ball player than I thought he was.
He's had a great year.
He's not only having a great year, watching him play, I was like, better ball player than I thought he was. Yeah.
Made good throws. Was tough. He ran better than I thought.
Everybody moved kept saying, better than I thought.
He's banged up.
Yeah.
He can move but doesn't run. He ran great. I mean, he outran some of our athletic defensive linemen, right? He's got some big first downs. Those are the only 2 interceptions thrown all year.
Yep.
I think in his last 350.
That's his first 2 interceptions that he's thrown since last October.
Yeah.
Count that.
Right. That's
2022.
A year.
A year.
So, I think with him and those receivers, I think to me they match up with almost anybody talent-wise. Like the receivers in particular. But overall, I agree with you.
Like I said, this was the get-right game.
Yep.
You needed to get right. You needed to figure some things out. And let's just be completely honest. The absolute rocket ship that the offense has been on, that ain't going to continue every single game. Not every
Like they may
game.
They may score 30 every
I'm not
game.
saying they're going to show up and put up 17 one game. But that's not going to continue every single
49 points in consecutive games.
So for you to start winning some games in this league, you got to start figuring it out somewhat on the defense.
Yeah.
And